had the good fortune of being in the right place at the right time and having the opportunity to be one of the pioneers in the cellular telephone industry, to be engaged in the building of one of the early cellular markets and growing one of the early cellular telephone companies down in the Raleigh-Durham market. And cellular was really a very interesting technology. It was a watershed event in many, many ways. First, it established competition in the telecommunications industry. Before cellular came along, you may have a picture of the fact that telecommunications was a monopoly. AT&T had their monopoly, the Bell companies had their monopoly. There were a couple of regional telephone companies, and they had a monopoly. There was no competition. And it was an industry that was known for its slow, incremental innovations when it had a monopoly position in the marketplace. And now, with competition, of course, the telecommunications industry is one that's reinvented itself 3 or 4 times over because of the advent of competition. So there's one of the significant impacts that cellular has had on business and on our country, was the introduction of competition to the telecommunications industry. Because there was no competition in the industry, there was no marketing in the industry either. These telephone companies' appreciation for marketing was mostly associated with what kind of rate case do I need to make at the Public Utilities Commission to get the increase in my fees that I want to have the next year. Yes, AT&T ran some really nice, sweet television spots about please call your grandmother long distance, but except for that advertising, there was really very little knowledge of marketing in the telecommunications industry. The arrival of cellular was also the first time the American consumer was really asked to commit itself to a new technology. Before cellular came along, there'd been really very, very little introduction of new technologies. Most homes had not much more than a telephone and a television. A few had a microwave, a few had a VCR, but not even, mostly the homes in those days, in the early to mid 80s when cellular came along, most folks, when they wanted to watch a videotape, they actually still rented a VCR. Because of course the industry had not yet found that single standard that made people feel comfortable that they could commit to either the beta standard or the VHS standard. So they would go out and rent a tape, and at that same video rental store, they would actually rent a machine for the evening to bring into their house to watch the tape that night. Cellular was the tipping point in which Americans now said, wow, it's time for us to really consider new technologies when they come along, and it's time to contemplate the embrace of those new technologies when they come along.